Usually sequels don't do as well as the first, but 11 Academy Awards and the Best Picture Oscar. Now, Godfather I won it also, but that's amazing. That just goes to show you how brilliant everything about Godfather II was, because that doesn't happen quite often.
I walk in redemption.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Sit Down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well. All is very good, very blessed on this end. As always, my friends, I give all the praise, honor, glory, and thanksgiving to our God for that, because he deserves it. Hope everybody is doing well, and we're in the Christmas season. Thanksgiving is past. Everybody's doing their shopping. They went to Black Friday, and now they have Cyber Monday, and I'm sure everybody's planning their Christmas parties. The spirit is good. We're going to have a new administration. Everybody seems to be happy, so it's great. It's a great time of the year. I know we have some weather going on back east. But hey, you want a white Christmas? Let's hope for that. Out here in California, we'll take the sunshine. I'm okay with that. Seriously, I hope everybody's getting ready and looking forward to a wonderful Christmas season and obviously a great Christmas day. We celebrate the birth of our Lord Jesus Christ, and it's one of the most important, significant days of the year, second only to Easter Sunday when he rose from the dead. And we all know the story after that. And those of us that don't, we certainly should be. Anyway, this month is very special because it's the 50th anniversary of the premiere of Godfather II, one of the most iconic films ever made. I think it premiered on December 12th in New York, 1974, and then opened up in the United States, the rest of the country on December 20th. So those 2 days are coming up shortly. And yes, one of the most iconic films ever made. And people ask me all the time, Michael, you like Godfather I or Godfather II? Well, Godfather I premiered just 2 years earlier. They got the sequel out quick because Godfather I was so successful. For me, it's Godfather I. You know, I don't know. When that film came out, it was just, it was unbelievable. The impact it had on the guys on the street, you could see it. I mean, it was so obvious. You know, that film was romanticizing the life so much. It brought honor, respect, integrity to the life. Guys on the street carried themselves differently after the film. I remember it was my era. I remember the whole time when Joe Colombo got involved in that, and you know how that film was being filmed, and you know when the producer came to meet us at the Italian American Civil Rights League rallies that we had and the meetings that we had at the Park Sheraton Hotel. I remember that vividly, so I was kind of involved in that in a way, you know, even though I wasn't intimately involved. I was involved because, you know, Joe Colombo was my mentor at that time. I was very involved with the Italian American Civil Rights League, saw it as a way to helping my dad. So I got really into it. When the film came out, it was just unbelievable. Marlin Brando, spectacular. I mean, the role he played in Vito Corleone was just unbelievable. And I think guys on the street even tried to copy him, you know, the way he carried himself, the way he spoke, just everything about him. Michael, you know, the way he, you know, his character evolved, you know, from this military guy, you know, this West Point guy, you know, to eventually become, you know, the boss of the family, and the way he carried himself afterwards, and just everybody. And, you know, the script was brilliant. The directing was brilliant. The acting was brilliant. Cinematography, brilliant. Everything about it. You know, that scene where, you know, the baptism when people get killed, you know, it's just unbelievable the way it was written. So you gotta, you know, for me, it's gotta be Godfather I. But Godfather II, spectacular also, no doubt about it. You know, the way they showed the two worlds, you know, Vito Corleone, Deniro played the character amazingly well. And then, of course, Michael, the way he evolved from Godfather I to Godfather II, amazing. And, you know, in these films, you know, there's just something different about them. You know, we see killing all the time. I mean, you can't turn a film on today without seeing somebody getting killed or shot, you know, whatever. And we had that, but that's not what you focused on in either of these two films. You know, it was more of the family. It was more of the growth of the characters. It was more of the storyline that was just unbelievable. You know, maybe I'm biased, I don't know, because I lived the life, you know, but it was really something special for me. So Godfather II, you know, really spectacular. Like I said, came only 2 years afterwards. And I want to give you some fun facts before I get into it a little bit. I'm going to give you my perspective on the story, what it meant to me. Before I do, I want to give you some fun facts, I think, things you may not know about Godfather II. First of all, like I said, it was released in, you know, on December 12th, 1974. and then December 20th for the rest of the country. It first was released in New York. You know, that's interesting. And listen to this. The Godfather II garnered a staggering 11 Academy Award nominations and became the first sequel to win a Best Picture Oscar. I don't know if there's ever been one since, but usually sequels don't do as well as the first. But 11 Academy Awards and the Best Picture Oscar. Now, Godfather I won it also. But that's amazing. That just goes to show you how brilliant everything about Godfather II was, because that doesn't happen quite often. Another fact, Al Pacino's portrayal of Michael Corleone in The Godfather is iconic and synonymous with the character's image in the minds of audiences. However, Jack Nicholson turned down the role of Michael Corleone because he believed that actors should stick to playing characters of their own ethnicity. Now, I don't know where he got that, and if actors stuck to that, you wouldn't see many of the great actors in roles that weren't their ethnicity. I don't know, but that's his opinion. That's okay. But remember this, if you saw The Offer, the movie The Offer, Francis Ford Coppola and Mario Puzo wrote the role of Michael Corleone for Al Pacino. Coppola had seen him in a stage play and say, that's my guy. The studio didn't want him because he was an unknown. The producer didn't want him. Al Ruddy didn't want him. He was an unknown. They fought about it. They wanted Nicholson because he was a known. You know, he was a big name at that time. But Coppola just kept fighting for it, and eventually he won out, and the rest is history. But they didn't want him originally. Nicholson turned it down. Listen to this. Pacino got paid $500,000. That's $3.1 million today, and he got 10% of the film's profits. Because of this back-end deal, Pacino has likely earned tens of millions of additional earnings for his role in the film. Now, normally, you know, people don't want to take a percentage of the back end because the studios play games, they say, and they have very creative accounting, and normally even these films that do several $100 million, they're not profitable. Well, maybe back then they were. Pacino probably made a bunch of money. It was a good deal. I know another deal, Jack Nicholson, you know, when he played the role of the Joker in Batman, he had a back-end deal. And as a result, I think he took home about $50 million. So it was a smart deal at that time. And hopefully Pacino did as well. Godfather Part II, Marlon Brando was originally supposed to reprise his role in the final flashback scene. But due to a financial dispute with the studio, he didn't appear, and Francis Ford Coppola rewrote the scene without him. So we wondered why at that time that Marlon Brando didn't appear at all. Well, that's the reason. He had a dispute with the studio over finances, you know, that Brando was a headstrong guy. He didn't get what he wanted, so he opted out. Amazing, because his role in that film was iconic. But anyway, and this is some of the rankings of the film. It was ranked number 7 on Entertainment Weekly's list of the 100 greatest movies of all time. It was number 1 on TV Guide's 1999 list of the 50 greatest movies of all time on TV and video. And then The Village Voice ranked The Godfather Part II as number 31 in its top 250 best films of the century list, also in 1999, based upon a poll of the critics. Now, I don't hold The Village Voice in such high esteem, but hey, you know, that was their ranking. But listen, it was a brilliant film. Okay, so now I'm going to give you my perspective on this film, what some of the scenes meant to me, what the film meant to me in general. But before I do that, I want to make this special announcement. For those of you that are interested, I'm going to be doing a very in-depth interview about the film. Very personal, very in-depth, and I'm going to do it with 2 great moderators, Caleb and Gary, who are part of my membership platform. And they're going to really take a deep dive into this. They're going to ask me questions I've probably never been asked before. We're going to get into the film in depth in a way that I've never really described before. They're telling me, Michael, get ready, because we're going to really hit you with a lot of stuff about the life, about the film. And I think they're going to offer a Q&A afterwards also, so you can write down your questions, submit them, and you know, we'll be happy to answer them in any way I could. But if you want to be involved in this, again, this is only for our membership platform. You can go in and join. It costs you $10. That's it. If you want to stay in the platform afterwards, that's up to you. But to get involved in this in-depth interview, it'll cost you $10. You go to michaelfranzese.com/family and come on in. And they'll announce the date and time that it's going to happen. It'll happen within the next week or so, certainly this month. And I think you're really going to enjoy it, because I have some things in my head that I want to talk about that I'm not going to talk about today. in this video, but I think you're really going to enjoy it. And again, these two moderators, they're pretty sharp. So they're going to ask me some things, put me on the spot. You know, I'm in the hot seat, as they say, but really talk about the movie and what it meant to me, how it had an impact on me, and how it had impacted certain other people that I know. So if you want to get into it, like I said, michaelfranzese.com/family, jump in, $10, you got it. You know, and when I look at this film, you know, as someone who lived in both worlds, I was a made member of Cosa Nostra, as you know, organized crime. I was a soldier. I was a capo regime. I was in that life for over 20 years. I grew up in the life. My dad, you know, was a central figure in that life. So I know the life intimately well, and I've experienced it in ways that many of you haven't, obviously. And now for the past 30 years, I've been in a legitimate world. And so I see how the other side lives, so to speak. And so I have a different perspective on the film. But The Godfather Part II, like The Godfather Part I, it certainly hit me differently than many of you, I'm sure. And let me share why this film still matters 50 years later. And this is from someone who's been there, so I think you'll enjoy my perspective. You know, I think it's the way this film tells two stories at one time. It's genius the way it was done. It's more than just clever filmmaking. It shows something that I've seen firsthand about family legacy, something I often discuss in my speaking engagements. The way they weave together Vito's rise and Michael's descent. And yes, Michael did really descend. Remember, he was a military guy. He was a college guy. He went to West Point. He fought for our country. And then he gradually descends into, and I have to descend into the mob life. He was a changed man. His principles were different. His character was different. We saw that metamorphosis, I would say, the way he, I don't want to say evolved, because he really descended into something that he wasn't before. And yeah, that life can do that to you. I've seen that happen. You know, it's not something to be proud of. I have to say that. And it hits close to home because, you know, look, I was a college student. I was going to be a doctor. That's the road I was on. I was an athlete in school. You know, Mickey Mantle was my idol. I wanted to play center field for the New York Yankees. But when I got involved in life, in that life, I had a different perspective. You know, I looked at things differently. And that was because of the oath that I took. It was just different. And The Godfather Part II really hit home for me. Godfather I, too. You know, Vito's story, you know, the immigrant story I heard growing up. You know, my grandfather who came here from Italy because he wanted to create a better life for his family. And my grandfather and grandmother had 19 children. They actually had 21 children. 2 of them died. One of them, I think, fell in a well in Italy. It was terrible and drowned. But they came here to create a better life for their family than what they had in Italy. And they came here legally, by the way. They went through Ellis Island. They went through the whole process and came here legally. And they were, you know, natural citizens later on. And it was that whole struggle where they came here from nothing to establish something for themselves, all in the name of building a life for their family, protecting their family. And you know, Michael's story, Michael Corleone's story, it kind of mirrors what I've seen happen to many, you know, second generation guys. They became better educated because that's what their fathers want for them. You know, my grandfather actually wanted differently from my father. My father was one of, like I said, 19 kids. He had 15 sisters. There was 4 boys altogether. My grandfather wanted them to be educated. My grandfather never wanted my father to become part of this life. He actually tried to dissuade him. The other 3, they were kind of street people in a way, but they were legitimate. They didn't get involved in a life. They did some, you know, shylocking and things like that, but they had legitimate businesses. But my father went the other way. You know, and you know, in a way, you know, the second generation became even more ruthless than the first. When the first generation came over here, they wanted to create a better life. They didn't want to be criminals in a way. They had to do what they had to do to survive. But I think many of them, you know, wanted to just legitimize themselves as best they could. And the contrast between Vito's personal touch and Michael's corporate style, that's exactly how things change for me in the real world. You know, those family scenes in both timelines, they show pretty much what I experienced, how business decisions tear through family relationships. And, you know, remember the line, you know, it's not personal, Michael, it's just business. Well, not really. Because the business does affect your personal life, and sometimes it does become personal. We say it's business because we take an oath and we take orders to do certain things, and we say, well, we just have to look at it from a business perspective, but it's really not. Things become very personal because you're affecting people's lives in a way. And I always looked at it that way. I tried to tell myself, well, it was business. I'm told what to do, and this is what we have to do. And a lot of us justified things that way, but really wasn't that way. Let me tell you, the way they showed how things were changing in our world, they really got it right. From the old timers to the new generation, from Vito Corleone to Michael. We saw, Robert Deniro as young Vito, how he struggled to, get his life together, and then what he became later on. Then the whole move to Las Vegas was amazing. Why did Michael do that? Well, he said he wanted to legitimize the family. He wanted to get away from, the other guys in New York. He wanted to get away from the drama among the families. And that's exactly what happened later on, from neighborhood operations to corporate setups. We tried to legitimize ourselves. There's no doubt about it. Michael's dealings with Hyman Roth showed how the old handshake deals became complex business arrangements. The Senate committee scenes, I've been there, I've done that, I've been in front of the Senate. The Cuba sequences, they nailed how operations went international. Something I know plenty about, trust me, because I did things overseas at the time. De Niro's portrayal of Vito, I mean, it was perfect, the way he did it. The way they just set it all up, speaking in Italian. I mean, you were immersed into those scenes. They really were. His Sicilian mannerisms, the dialect. It's like, watching my old neighborhood. The Little Italy scenes capture exactly what those communities were like back then. Coppola did a great job. Cinematography was great. The direction was great. It was unbelievable. The way he showed how respect and fear, how they work together. I mean, that's leadership in the world. His subtle copying of Brando while making it his own. That's how family traits actually pass down. And this is where the film really hits home for me, I would have to say. It's all about Michael's transformation. I've seen it. It happened to guys I knew. It happened to me, from a college kid, an athlete, a pre-med student, to become basically a gangster, a mobster. And that's what happened. It was a transformation, You had to change your way of thinking. You had really to adapt and adjust, because if you didn't survive. And the way people justify their actions for the family, I did that. We all did that. We all took an oath. We said, hey, we understand we have to play by the rules. And if we don't, bad things happen. We understood that. The isolation at the top. Michael was isolated. He didn't want to get too close to people. He had to show that, he was separated from the people below. I had to do that with the guys close to me. The boss had to do that. He always had to show that, the leadership is where it stays or where it is, and everything else is under that. The cost to personal relationships. Yeah, there was a cost. I mean, look, I knew guys that got killed for mistakes that they made, so there was a cost to being in that life, I lived that story, people, so I knew it well. And this next part really speaks to my own journey, I would say. Vito's rise shows both sides of success, the achievement and the compromise that you had to make. Michael's story, that's about, losing your soul to something. You're losing it to success, really, because Michael changed, as he became the boss and acted out the boss, and how, his business operations changed. Did you sell your soul in that way? Yeah, I think you did. It's something I understood too well. The clash between old world values and American business, it's still happening today. There's no question, it still happens in that life today. The price of the American dream, sometimes it's the very values that got you there. Well, it's 50 years later, and let me tell you, these themes are still playing out today. Corporate corruption and government investigations. Remember that? The whole investigation on Michael, the investigation into his operations, Same thing happening today. Read the headlines. Family business struggles. Again, see it every day. Tradition versus progress. See that every day. It's still a daily battle. Loyalty versus business. That never changes, never will. Listen, I've lived both sides of this story. My journey from the life to where I am now, it gives me a unique view on how accurate this film really is. It's not just about the operations, it's about what power does to a person, what it does to a family. Power is really the source of corruption. It's all about money and power. I've seen it. I've lived it. And fortunately, I've walked away from it. Well, people, this film is iconic. If you really look at it, not only for the entertainment, but for the story that it tells and how realistic it really is, you know, it mirrors a lot of things that are happening in today's world. And it's just a brilliant film. So again, hit home for me. You can make a decision. Do you like Godfather I or Godfather II? Should we celebrate 50 years, you know, of a mob film, a film where people get killed, where families get destroyed? We should celebrate it for the entertainment value, for the impact that it had, for the greatness of, the work that was done in the film, the creativity, everything about it. It was just great. So yeah, we should celebrate it because it's had such an impact on our society. People are watching it today. You can't go a month without seeing Godfather I and Godfather II on either a streaming platform or on cable networks. It's there all the time. We keep watching it. I've probably watched it, I don't know, 10, 15 times in my life, and I'll probably watch it again. So hope you enjoyed it. That's it for today. Once again, if you want to be part of a real in-depth discussion on this film, I really invite you in. It's an exclusive interview. You're not going to see it anywhere else. You're going to hear more. So join me, Caleb, and Gary for an exclusive in-depth interview where I'm going to share never-before stories that I've never told, the insights about Godfather II, and how it parallels to real life. This special 50th anniversary conversation will only be available on the Franzese family platform. And how do you do that? You join it for just $10. It's michaelfranzese.com/family. We're going to allow a Q&A. You'll submit some questions. We'll get into it. And I think it'll be something you really enjoy. So that's it for today, my friends. How do I always leave you? Same way. Never going to change. Be safe. You know what I'm saying about that? I think we're going to get a lot safer when Trump gets involved on January 20th. He's already making plans. I think the neighborhoods are going to get safer. We're going to get some control of the crime that's going rampant in a lot of places. So, but be safe, be healthy. RFK's coming aboard. Let's see what he's going to do. And yes, I mean this, especially through the Christmas season. God bless you. God bless your families. God bless America. And yes, I'll see you next time. Take care.